Hello, welcome to week 2. I just wanted to take a moment and go over some of the expectations for the video project that was mentioned at the end of last week. So I've got your assignment page up here, and I just wanted to take a second to sort of walk you through what those expectations were. So what I'm looking for essentially is for you to create a short explanation video using any number of tools accessible to you in terms of visual aids to discuss the topic of the relationship between deforestation and ecological disruption and its relationship to an increase in incidence of human disease outbreaks. So this is a really multifaceted topic. It's pretty broad, and so what I'm looking for from you is to take this really, really broad topic and make it accessible for an educated scientific audience. So that is who you're making this for. You're making this for an educated scientific audience, but perhaps some who may not understand this topic specifically. So I think in terms of length, I'm thinking, maybe 5 minutes would be the shortest, maybe 10 minutes would be on the longer side. Certainly there's some wiggle room in there. I'm not feeling super strict about that. The most important thing is that this has to be visual. So what I'm really looking for is not for you to be discussing your presentation to a video and then submitting that, but rather I'm looking for you to create a story, essentially. So either maybe you could make like a slideshow of some sort, so maybe like Google Slides or PowerPoint, and narrate over that. You could create an animated explanation video. So there's a great resource called Powtoon, which I'll show you shortly. If you have the time and ability and mental bandwidth to take on maybe a more ambitious project, you could animate something yourself if that is a skill set that you have. Or that you want to try out. Certainly this is just a small project, so don't drive yourselves crazy, but feel free to take creative license and agency over this in whatever way you see appropriate within these sort of guidelines. So in terms of research, so I expect this to be, well-researched, well-sourced, well-understood. And so I would say 5 credible resources is probably the minimum that would be acceptable. So when I say credible, what I mean is, like, generally speaking, no .coms, no blog posts, nothing that is not itself well-researched. So primary scientific articles are great. If you are having trouble finding this sort of thing, if you're unfamiliar with what that might look like, let me know, and we can certainly talk about that. For my class, we use APA format, which is kind of the standard throughout the sciences, and so that's what we'll use. In addition to submitting your video file, I'm going to ask you to submit also your bibliography in APA format. So you'll be submitting 2 separate things to this assignment page. So your video, your finalized video, and then your bibliography. So let's take a quick look at some of the resources that you have available. So I have given you an article to start off with. So how forest loss is leading to a rise in human disease. So this is a really good overview topic. It's a couple of years old at this point, but still really good. And it gives you a sense of the direction that this is heading in, and hopefully will give you a good jumping off point for getting started. And so in terms of resources, I think there's quite a few ways that you could do this, and I've just included a couple to maybe get you started, but certainly if you know of others, please use them. Don't feel like you need to ask permission. I'd really, again, like you to feel like you have sort of creative agency over this. But some of the things that I've found are kind of useful, or we could use, like, Powtoon is kind of cool. This is a free animation software. To my knowledge, you don't need to download anything. I believe it's all Flash-based, and you can just make it all in their website. They run some ads sometimes over here, so it can run a little bit slow sometimes. And there are paid options, of course. I don't recommend that you pay for anything. I think you can get away just fine with the free option. And then information for signing up for that is here. There's also Screencastomatic, which is pretty useful. This is actually really just a screen recording tool. So this would be useful for if you are doing like a, if you were doing like a slideshow presentation and you didn't want to use Zoom. Zoom, of course, is an option. That's what I use to record these videos. But if you wanted to use something else, Screencast-O-Matic is another really good free software that you can use. If you decide you want to take on something a little more ambitious, you want to start kind of building images yourself, here's a good resource called Flaticon. This is really useful for lots of things. I use this website all the time to get images. If we looked for, I don't know, let's say science, can't type science, it'll give us all sorts of things that look really great. And these are, you know, for the most part, free images. There's plenty of good ones that are free. Again, I certainly don't recommend paying for anything on here. That's essentially it. That's the project. So create a video. It's got to be visual. It's got to be well researched. If you have any questions about the expectations for this, let me know. I think for now, the due date is going to be on the 16th. So as you may have noticed last week, I think, you know, we're going to have due times be like midnight on the day of, so midnight Eastern time, to allow for some flexibility for folks in different time zones and for different home circumstances. So let me know if any part of that feels confusing or still sort of feels unclear, and we can certainly talk about it and get you going.